Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the RENNSPORT Community League here today from Spa to enter the second half of the season. We've got 22 cars out on track today, a highly competitive field just like in Monza last time out, a very tight championship battle for the lead, and two guys bringing you through the evening, and those two are myself and Tim Ireland.
Hello, Lena. Hello, everyone on Twitch. How are you guys doing? Yeah, what can we say else about Spa and GT3s that we haven't said before? Probably nothing. We're going to be repeating ourselves a lot. Why aren't I just a soundboard?
That would make our work a lot easier. But yeah, the last two times we went to Spa, it went on very, very interestingly. We had the 4 wide moment going out of Bruxelles into No Name. We had Rondon Hood versus Tim Schroeder, which was a very, very feisty battle. We had Rondon Hood again against Ali Zahe, who we see here in our picture right now, last season. 5 or 6 car train in season 5, which ran throughout the day. The search from Enrico Bräuniger last time out in the Aston Martin, who is here today again in the Aston Martin, who liked to do moves through this corner, through Blanchimont a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some moves here today again by him. But I'm having high hopes that today will be an absolute banger of a race with all the history, and of course Spa, genuinely one of the best racing tracks out there. It's wide, it's fast, it's long, and pretty much everybody knows it from the back of their hands. So what do you expect for today with all the names we have on the grid?
Yeah, and I agree. Pretty much everybody knows Spa. I think you could probably drive it with your eyes closed from the amount of sims that it's in, and rightly so, because like you said, it is a fantastic racing track. It might not be my favourite track to do laps on, but it always delivers great racing. So yeah, I'm expecting some quality overtakes, some buttock clenching moments, and hopefully nothing too spicy.
Well, no promises made there. It will also be interesting with some of the newer drivers we have. One of them we see right here, Joshua Lucas Siebert. He really made a name for himself already in some of the community leagues. Him and his brother being pretty quick off the bat. And also last time out in Monza, he did a pretty good race. So if he keeps out of trouble again, I'm not sure if there will be as much as in Monza last time out, but with so many cars going into La Source, you can never be certain. I think it could be very interesting to see where he ends up as well.
Yeah, we've got a few kind of newer names on the grid today. Throwing a few wild cards in there. We're not really sure how they're going to perform, but I'm sure they'll be up to speed in no time and battling with the regulars. We've got pretty much, I think, every car on track today. It's got a good variety of people, a good variety of liveries, always good for us.
Very much so indeed. Very distinct this time about. Every driver for their own. Tony Thomas looking to score some good points. Currently 6th in the standings, just like last season, through consistent good results. And about to finish the first flying lap. The first one is in, set by Enrico Bräuniger. 2:16.8 is already a strong benchmark, but there goes our championship leader, Dominik Ladler, to take pole for just a moment with the 2:16.4, because Ali Zahe and Rondon Hood, who are both in the pursuit in the championship. We will take a look in just a moment at the championship standings. Just 1/10 ahead of Dominik Ladler.
Yeah, it's a pretty close bunch of drivers at the front of the grid there, and probably people, regular viewers, will be expecting to be near the front of the grid, but maybe not always that close together in qualifying time.
1/10 on a 2-minute lap, that is a tiny margin. Enrico Bräuniger is also closer than he used to be in previous seasons. So he really got to grips with this new equipment, as it seems. Julian Chico and Justus Storch a bit further down the road, but still within the picture of the front pack. But it's super close for pole position, and these 3 points will be of much value to all 3 of the drivers. If we take a quick look at the current standings, we see Dominik Ladler leading on 74 points. Ali Zaya and Rondon Hurt after Monza losing quite a bit of ground to him with 66 and 64 points respectively, but that's not a lot of points. And between the two, there has been a lot of history. And with the points gap this small and a literal gap on the track this small, it could be very interesting in the race.
Yeah, there's it's pretty tight in the points, like you said. So I think every point's going to start counting somewhere around here in the mid part of the season. People are maybe switching their minds to think about the championship as a whole and trying to grab as many of those points as they can.
McLaren a bit down in the first 2 sectors on this lap. I wouldn't expect this to be a new person best unless he can completely punch it out of the ballpark with this last sector through the bus stop. Actually does improve and takes pole by 8 thousandths of a Rondon Hurt. So he did it with that last sector. No improvements for him or Alizar there. But for Enrico Bräuniger, another improvement to 16.7.
Yeah, Enrico Bräuniger's really come on in the last couple of months, I'd say. He seems to have really kind of got to grips with getting a little bit extra pace out of the cars.
Got some further moves in the mid-pack. Joel Soria moving up to 5th. Usually a very strong driver. Timothy Fridge moving up to 8th. Just 7 thousandths ahead of Cesco Munuera. As Dennis Kurzer in the Porsche just moved up into 7th. All cars running fixed setups, so everybody in pretty equal machinery. But finding the right traction control, ABS and especially brake bias is very crucial around this place. Rondon Hurt purple in sector 1. But will he have enough time to finish the lap? It could be a bit tight.
Yeah, there's only a minute 30 left of qualifying, so he's going to have to do a pretty quick last 2 sectors.
Dominik Ladler also with a very quick sector 1 though, but invalidating his lap time going right out of campus. So it all depends on Rondon Hurt here. And an even better second sector.
Might just have time. Got about 50 seconds left right now, so he's should be okay to get the lap in before the end of the session.
With these deltas, he's looking for a 15-second lap time. I think within the RCL community, this might be a new personal best. What can he do? And it is a 15.9. Rondon Hurt taking pole. What an outstanding lap time there from Rondon Hurt. And it will remain pole. That's 3 points to his name. Dominik Ladler starting alongside him and Ali Zaya getting the last point here in qualifying. As the time has run out. But
A little bit of shuffling in the mid-pack as we had a flurry of drivers crossing the track there, crossing the finish line.
Indeed. 2 Porsches on the front row, Rondon Hurt and Dominik Ladler, both RCL champions, followed by Ali Zaya and Enrico Bräuniger on the second row. Joel Soria and Julian Chico will be pretty happy with the third row, and then it's another Porsche row. Timothy Fridge and Dennis Kurzer, the highest placed Audi in the hands of Tony Thomas, down in 14th.
F Audi drivers, F.
Well, going down into turn 1 will definitely be very, very interesting.
Got 2 Porsches at the front of the pack, so they're going to be late on the brakes as they always are.
But watch that AMG, the black MSI AMG on the inside. And we go racing here in Spa-Francorchamps. The second half of RCL Season 7 has begun, and Rondenhood immediately defending to the outside from Dominic Lalo, is trying to go the long way around. Alizai can't attack immediately. Enrico Bräuninger dropping like a stone down to 7th, I think it was. And up front, Rondenhood running away with it. But the top 3 able to keep their positions. And indeed, Enrico Bräuninger down to 7th. And trying to reclaim P6 from Timothy Fritsch, who had a good start making up 2 positions immediately.
The only casualty on T1 was, unfortunately, perennial first-turn casualty, Radoslav Priomkovic.
And Rondenhood is off after contact with Dominic Ladler. Both trying to go for the same spot in the same moment. Meanwhile, this is Piotr Zadeibel trying to pass Tony Thomas, who also made up 2 positions. But yeah, big disappointment, of course, for Rondenhood, who apparently managed to slip back in line in 5th, but he's struggling a lot, and you can see the damage to the rear end of his car. And now on the outside, that is Timothy Fritsch. The car very oversteery here through Puon. Has to really fight hard to keep the car under control, and this won't be an easy race for the Dutchman. On board with Enrico Bräuninger. Out front, Dominic Lala. Alizai just half a second behind, and Joel Soria, he will be super happy about his start because he went up into 3rd position with Julien Chicot in 4th. Timothy Fritsch seemingly being blocked off by Rondenhood. They're having to brake early and allowing Enrico Bräuninger to slip through. And I think Rondenhood just came into the pits. And yes, he does. The damage is too severe. Meanwhile, one car spun around in the background that looks like Alvaro Lopez. Just a Storch under attack from Joshua Lucas Siebert for 7th. Both of them with very good starts to their races. And look at the 2 Audis of Tony Thomas and Xander de Hond, who's also a rookie in the series. Up in 10th and 11th. Enrico Bräuninger doesn't seem to be too bothered by the start to his race. He's now up into 5th again after dropping down. Now the question is, can he keep up with the cars in front? Can he keep up with Julien Chicot? Very tight between Alizai and Dominic Ladler, though. This is what we've seen the last few races here at Spa. Meanwhile, welcome back, Tim, after encountering some technical difficulties on his end.
Sorry about that.
Well, a very hot opening space here in Spa, as Sievert is making life very difficult for Cesco Moreira, who's trying to find a way around the BMW. But yeah, 5 minutes in. Still a long way to go, of course.
Yeah, we've got a few kind of close battles up and down the field right now, which is good to see. Always love to see a bit of that.
So we see Rondon Hood back out on track just in front of the leaders. But he will of course try to salvage as many points as he can do. Fight between two of the Porsches. Nicholas Kelly trying to find his way past Saeed Singh. Also doing pretty good for themselves. In the background we see Vladislav Pironkovic, Per Zadaev and Tony Thomas, the three NGSRT drivers. And Joe Soraya slipped past Ali Zahir. We see front end damage to Dominic Ladler's car. Julian Chico also now right with them in the mix.
Yeah, I've got a good pack of 4 at the front of the race there. I know Dominic's obviously got a bit, carrying a bit of damage, running a bit wide, but I'm sure it'll make for some pretty interesting racing.
Joe Soria seems to be very quick around here. And very comfortable with the situation he's in. He doesn't have anything to lose. Yeah. He's got everything to gain.
Yeah, he's very much kind of jumped on the opportunity there, but he's in second position, which you can't sniff at. Ali seems to be leaving him plenty of space.
And look who's inching closer in the background, Enrico Breuninger. So we see Alizar with some technical issues, as it seems.
Yeah, he seems to... Oh.
Joe Soria to the inside of Dominic Ladler. Just a little showing himself. And it seems like Alizaya has come to stop at this side of the road and actually retired the car. Now that is big news for the championship. And could potentially be a great swing towards this man, towards Dominic Ladler. Both of his main rivals not in the race anymore. Oh, Ronan Hood still being in the race, but very far down as Joe Soria is now looking towards the inside. And making the move on Dominic Ladler. But going a bit wide and somehow keeping the car under control. But his move for first has to wait another lap. It would be his first RCL victory. Currently also looking very quick to take it.
Yeah, he seems to be got a little bit of a gap on Dominic Ladler already. Dominic Ladler's up ahead again, but there seems to be there seems to be a fairly even gap amongst the top 3 right now, which is good.
And that was one of the Porsches in front of Dominic Ladler going off. I wonder, was that... It looked like the beta car.
It did. I'll try and find out who it was.
But with that, Joe Soria now in the lead. Question is, can he keep it from Dominic Ladler? And Enrico Breuninger, big steps towards the front pack, just 1 second separating him from Julian Chicot now. He could take second in the championship here today. As we welcome more people in chat. Let's have a look what happened for that on. Nicholas Kelly, we've seen him already picking up some damage earlier, but he got that 10th place from Saib Singh in the end, and they are both on a very good pace in this race. Justus Storch, one of the rookies here this race, running as high as 6th, which is a very good result here for the Aston Martin drivers. In general, the two Aston Martins we have in this race, very, very strong. And Timothy Fridge starting in 7th or 8th, definitely on the 4th row, up into 5th. Dropped down a bit from where he was earlier, but still, pace is looking good for him. Tony Thomas always a bit up and down the grid, but found himself now comfortably in 12th. Might not be that many points on paper, but he's still 6th in the championship. You shouldn't forget that he doesn't keep that position because of his high positions, but because he is so consistently doing his stuff. And well within striking range now. Enrico Bräuninger. And they're both eyeing Dominic Ladler, who of course with that damage up front will lose some top-end speed.
Yeah, he's going to have to be careful on the two long, faster sections here, because he's going to be topping out a little bit earlier than the other cars. They will have slipstream on him, so there's going to be even more overspeed for the extra cars. He's going to have to be super defensive. We know he's good at it. He's done it many times before. But he's got quite a long time left of this race.
Joe Soria up front, he isn't safe either. Isn't really able to build can't even talk anymore. Good enough of a gap to Dominic Ladler to just run away. He has the pace, clearly, but he will have to fight for it. He's going to the inside on the Camel Straight. Now into Lecombe. Ladler around the outside, keeping the grip, but Soria trying to come back. Got a bit stuck on the curbing though. And that is yet another lead change.
Been plenty of action up front already today, so that's one of our wishes that came true.
Did you just see that Enrico Bräuninger was bum drafting Julian Chicot?
I'm sure they would never do such a thing.
I think one of the biggest advantages for Enrico Bräuninger here is that he is one of the smartest drivers we have out there. He is one of these guys who really know when to pick a fight and how hard to defend for each position. And he knows that he is quick to fight for it, as Josia just went a bit too far there through Stavelo. But if he can get Julian Chicot to attack Joe Soria and Dominic Ladler, he can slip both through. And I think that's what he's trying to do here. He doesn't have the outright pace to get past all of these cars, but if he can inflict a bit of a fight between them, this might be a good shot for him to take a good podium here and some decent points. And you can see Joe Soria is struggling.
If he can get those two or three ahead of him into a fight, it will keep him in that kind of contention for the podium.
Cesco Monera still just behind Joshua Lucas Siebert. That's for P7.
Yeah, he's been sitting behind him for a while and keeps having a little bit of a peak, but nothing too serious just yet.
This time Joe Soria in the slipstream tries to do the same move that Dominic Ladler did earlier to him.
Ladler coming in and cutting off Julian Chicot and following him through.
But that was a super clean move by the NJSRT driver. He just swept back in front just before the braking zone. So no moving under brake or anything. Timed it perfectly. And back up into the lead for him. And for Dominik Lala, he didn't lose too much time out there.
No, and you could see his little lacking in top speed was just showing a little bit there towards the end of the Kemmel Straight, especially with Jules Soria having the draft as well on top.
In front of them, that is Ronda and Hood. He will have blue flags. That's why Jules Soria is very adamant to get past, because he now has a bit of a gap. He has 7/10 to Dominik Ladler. Doesn't want to lose out on that.
Nope, that's for sure.
And Ron, I think... No, wait, that was Jules Soria who spun out. Meanwhile now, Julian Chicot and Enrico Bräuninger right behind Dominik Ladler. As we go nearly 3 right through Blanchimont, Ladler on the inside going into bus stop. Julian Chicot now trying to go for the win on the outside into bus stop. Timothy Fritsch right back into the picture there in 4th. And they are all queuing up behind Rowan den Hood.
I think that was Rowan's Porsche just spin out there.
Yeah, Enrico Bräuninger just went past Dominik Ladler as well. Still right behind the Aston Martin, but he won't be able to build enough speed here on the straight. But he's bump drafting Enrico Bräuninger to keep away from Timothy Fritsch.
It's not working. Timothy Fritsch seems to be catching pretty quickly.
Not able to do move around here. Joe Soria is still parked, as it seems, on the track. So to unravel what happened in the last few laps, Joe Soria took the lead off Dominik Ladler with quite some tries. Then was building a bit of a gap, but made a mistake behind Ron Hood in traffic, lost the car, went into the wall, and now we have Julian Chicot from 3rd, leading this race with Enrico Bräuninger in hot pursuit. Did Enrico Bräuninger win an RCL race yet? I don't think he did.
Don't think he has won, no.
And I'm also not sure about Julian Chicot. He has won several races. Both of them are proven racers within the community. But within RCL, I don't think either of them have won. So for whoever wins in this race, it might be their maiden win. And seeing how Kimi Harpla got his first RCL win just recently, as Enrico Bräuninger is trying to go around the outside and Blanchimont, there's millimeters between the two. The BMW is still in front of the Aston Martin as Enrico Bräuninger is heading towards the outside, going to bus stop, braking later. Side by side again, Enrico Bräuninger in the better line, but Julian Chicot able to build up more speed, but here goes Dominik Ladler now side by side, compromising Julian Chicot's exit. And maybe now he has a shot at taking second. This is insane what we see here right now.
Going to be side by side into the U-turn at the top and then down through the long run. Dominik Ladler's going to probably have the slipstream here. He's ducking in behind Julian Chicot. So that should keep them in contention and catch them up to Enrico Bräuninger.
The insane
Timothy Fritsch is loving this.
Yeah, but the insane thing is, even with all this battling, he couldn't get close enough. He's still not able to attack. He's close still. He's following very well, but there wasn't an opening for him to slip through, and Julian Chicot was able to fend off Dominik Ladler. But Enrico Bräuninger now with a 6/10 lead to Julian Chicot. And we had further battles down the road. Dennis Kurzer up into 10th. Tony Thomas just 3 seconds behind him. Radoslav Pironkiewicz still in 13th behind Nicholas Kelly, who dropped down, but Saib Singh went up 2 positions. P. Kosluk being in the Enrico Bräuninger position, or the usual Enrico Bräuninger position, bit in nowhere's land. Jesko Monorea went past Joshua Lucas Siebert. And Justus Storch now not under pressure from Jesko Monorea yet. The car just behind, that should be the Porsche of Joel Soria. See the 11 indeed. But he will of course try to get back. And the gap up front up to a second now.
Yeah, Enrico Bräuninger seems to be slowly inching his way further and further away. Dominic Ladler dropping a little bit behind Julian Secor, so he's going to be getting less and less draft. Timothy Fritsch probably in striking distance, this time down the Kemmel Straight.
Justus Storch will have to defend from Jose. You are allowed to unlap himself, of course. And the 2 Porsche corner cars we see, these are teammates, not only because they share the same livery, but they are both NGSRT drivers. And actually, P. Kosluk, also an NGSRT driver, is not far away. But it's also looking very good for GST around here. Timothy Fritsch, Dominic Lala and Enrico Bräuninger in the top 4. Josue trying to go long way around from Justus Storch, who's still having such a great race here. Definitely hope to see him back in the next few RCLs.
He's got Joel Soria behind him right now, who, as we saw earlier on, was running really quick at the beginning of the race. I wonder if the smart move might be to let Soria past and see if he can drag you up a little bit.
Question is, would he do that? Because the car just behind is Jesko Monoreira. They're not only from the same team, they're also from the same country. So you might think that they will work together.
How dare you suggest team orders?
I wouldn't call it team orders. I would call it team tactics. But look at the gap up front, 1.4 seconds. Separating Julian Chicot and Enrico Bräuninger. Still over 20 minutes left to go. There will be some traffic situations as well. Soon to be lapped is Xander de Hond, who had a good start to the race but dropped down quite a bit. And would also be the first car to be lapped on pace rather than pit stops and repairs. And is Kurzer also getting closer to Saib Singh for P9. Bit unusual to see Dennis Kurzer in a Porsche. He has done that multiple times in recent times, but I'm still connecting him to an Audi. But so far 5 retirements from the race, 3 Mercedes, 1 DNS from the Aston Martin driver Marcel Vollbracht, who had a very good outing last time out in Monza. And of course Ronan Hood having decided to call it quit for this race. Timothy Fritsch seems to be able to get closer to Dominic Lala, who lost out a bit on time to Julian Chicot, so he's not getting as much slipstream anymore.
Yeah, he seems to be just losing out a little bit on pace. He's not quite able to maintain, especially now he's lost the slipstream.
You can really see the combination of slipstream and the damage on Dominic Lala's car as Timothy Fritsch is going towards the outside into bus stop. Both very strong on the brakes, still keeps it alongside. Dominic Lala may be a bit compromised here. By the other note, actually is Timothy Fritsch who's getting a bit compromised. So they're trying to maneuver past the Audi R8. Not the easiest of places to get past.
No, he seems to do a fairly good job of just lifting a little bit there and letting them through. It could have got a bit interesting if he'd stayed on full throttle, but he's doing the sensible thing.
Here comes the attack from Timothy Fritsch on the inside of Dominic Ladler. And up into third he goes. RCL winner himself in the season finale at Road Atlanta, out of all places, where he also capitalized on the problems the front runners had.
It's as valid a win as anything.
I think it was the race where we saw that awesome comeback drive from Dominic Ladler, who was pushed out wide in the opening corner alongside Julian Chicot.
Yeah, I think I remember it.
I think from the qualifying results you wouldn't have guessed this to be the current podium. Enrico Boeniger leading by 2 seconds over Julian Chicot, and then it's Timothy Fritsch. And especially
Boeniger seems to have quite a good pace advantage as well. Last lap round he was 7/10 faster than Julian Chicot, so that's pretty impressive.
maybe the Aston Martin finally pays off. Remember, he was the first to switch to the Aston Martin and also the one driver who kept it throughout. He got faster and faster with it over time. And maybe today is the day that it finally pays out for him. Meanwhile, Justus Storch was able to build a gap to Joel Soria, who dropped down quite a bit from him, and Cesco Monuera is actually in front of him, so the car with lights on, that is Joel Soria, the car with lights off, that is Cesco Monuera. But definitely something that will allow Justus Storch to get a bit of a breather.
Seems like Dominic Ladler might have been a little bit of a cork in a bottle as far as Timothy Fritsch is concerned. He's made a good gap on Ladler now and is starting to slowly creep up towards Julian Chicot. He's slightly quicker, but the gap is still just over a second.
I wonder if with the front end damage he has, it of course changed the balance of your car. It makes you understeer more within the Porsche. You already have quite a bit of understeer. If that will hurt his tires in the last 17 minutes remaining, and if that opens up a chance for Justus Storch, who's only 7.2 seconds back, and he is gaining on the 4-time RCL champion. And what a first impression that would be.
A couple of seconds pace. So he's not on it as far as Dominic Ladler is concerned.
What a first impression that would be. Come into RCL to keep relatively up with the leaders, defend from some of the veterans, and then overtake one of the juggernauts of the multiplayer.
That's very true. It's a good accolade for your kind of debut race in RCL, that's for sure.
Maybe it's also a bit of the day for the Aston Martins.
Maybe.
Because both Aston Martins that started this race are within the top 5. Definitely not a good day for all the Mercedes drivers. None of the Mercedes left in this race.
Timothy Fritsch just setting his fastest lap of the race, doing a 16.8. He's the only person in the 16s last lap round.
Yeah, fastest lap will also of course be interesting in this case. I think, if I see that correctly, currently the fastest lap goes to Dominic Lala with 16.6. That is 1 point. But with the pace Enrico Bräuninger, Julian Chico and Timothy Fritsch are doing, they might be able to snatch that point away. And actually now Ali Zayed did the 16.4, if I see that right on your screen.
Yeah, 16.428 for Ali Zayed. So I've got a couple of 10s to find for Timothy Fritsch, but they're definitely still running in the kind of right ballpark to be able to take that away. And with a cheeky bit of slipstream, he might be able to make it happen.
Timothy Fritsch definitely in a very good position. Julian Chico getting a bit loose there on the front end. But Timothy Fritsch also running a bit wide out of Stavilo, definitely suffering from the dirty air a bit. So not quite close enough this time around.
I'm sure Dominic Ladler will be hoping they get into a bit of a scrap, maybe just enough for him to catch up again.
So would probably Enrico Bräuninger. He has 2.5 seconds on Julian Chico now though, so don't think he's too worried about it.
No, but more gap is always good. I'm sure he'll be happily take more. Got just over 12 minutes remaining of the race today, so I'm sure he'd happily have a little bit more breathing room if they're willing to give it to him.
Showing himself on the inside. And very different lines, of course. The cars very opposite in concept. Front engine versus rear engine. Inline 6 versus flat 6. And I think one of the chunkiest GT3s against one of the most narrow. The R8 is a bit smaller, but I think apart from the R8, the Porsche is one of the smallest GT3s. On board again with Timothy Fritsch here. This Storch wasn't quite able to keep up with Dominic Lala, so the gap has gone to 8.5 seconds. Still doesn't allow for any mistakes, but gives him a bit more breathing room. Himself having 4 seconds to Cesco Monuera though.
Yeah, he's lapping a couple of tenths quicker than Cesco Monuera right now. The last lap round, Dominic Ladler was a second faster than Storch. So that's why the gap's opened up a little bit more. Timothy Frisch just having another little look down the inside in the bus stop there.
He can bide his time. He doesn't really have much of a threat from behind. Don't think Dominic is quite able to go with the pace of these two cars. But yeah, he doesn't have too much time either, so he has to try to find the balance to get past early enough. And also for Julian Chico to not just start a counterattack and retake that place.
Yeah, true. He's got the timing here that he can kind of pick and choose when he does it, and he can try and do it when it's most advantageous to him in the long run of the race. And maybe now a little bit early. Like you said, he's not particularly under threat from Dominic Ladler right now, so he's under no rush to make the move happen. He can just bide his time.
Seems like Dennis Kurzer isn't quite satisfied with P9 yet, because he's closing in on Joshua Lucas Siebert. I know that these two have also come together in some of the leagues. We know that Dennis Kurzer is typically a very fair driver. Joshua Lucas Siebert also seems to be there. It just seems like they always run into each other at the wrong time. That's how it looks from the outside.
The most passive of aggressive grudge match.
And it seems like Dennis Kurzer really has the advantage on pace here. Also coming from quite far down, doesn't he?
I can't remember where he qualified. Where was he? Dennis Kurzer. Dennis Kurzer is one position further down than where he qualified. Joshua Lucas Siebert, he was 3 positions ahead. Kozlov has gained 12 positions since qualifying. He might be in no man's land right now, but he's made a pretty good run of it.
Another pretty good run is this one from Timothy Fritsch. It was a great move, but an evenly great comeback from Julian Chico, and that's exactly what I mean. You can go past, but if you can't build a gap, especially at Spa, there's always the chance to come back from a position. And Dennis Kurzer giving us the Tim Schroeder flash. Will he go for it into the bus stop? Yeah, he kind of does. He makes himself known. And there is a bit of contact.
There is a bit of contact there. I think that was
interesting.
Enthusiastic blocking, I think.
Oh, Timothy Fritsch and Julian Chico side by side through Malmedy now into Bruxelles. That's not a place where you typically go side by side, but these two, they are having none of it. But it's so great, and they are still continuing to go side by side into No Name. Tiny bit of contact, both keeping it under control and just with paper thickness of precision slotting back in.
Timothy Fritsch just having to concede eventually, but that has given Dominic Ladler one heck of a boost. He's now he's only 0.5 seconds behind Timothy Fritsch now.
Great respect between these two, though. Yes. They're probably having
good side-by-side action.
Question is, can Dominic Ladler capitalize on it? Or even if he can get close, can these two break apart once they've sorted out that way? This time, other way around. Timothy Fritsch on the inside, breaking later than Julian Chico, and making his move around the outside. And this has really worked to his favor. But now the question is, can he keep Julian Chico behind on the Camel Straight?
And Dominic Ladler now with the double draft as they come into the long speed. Obviously a little lacking in top speed compared to the other two, but it might counteract.
He's definitely getting the double draft, so...
And Enrico Boining are loving all of this. Now 6 seconds down the road.
Only the 17 of Michael G, who is of course his teammate, going to be in his way for the rest of the race. And Julian Chicot, even though he tried it, couldn't make his way past Timothy Fridge. And I think if he can keep up the pace, that Timothy Fridge will be able to hold off Julian Chicot. But what a fight between these two it has been.
I'm hoping it's not done yet. I think they've got more to give.
I think we got another fight coming. Saib Singh is now closing in on Joshua Lucas Siebert. Seems like he can't quite hold the pace over the time of the race. Maybe overdoing his tires a bit. There we can see less than a second between the BMW and the Porsche. Another BMW Porsche battle for P3, because Dominic Lalla was able to keep it close behind. But now a long one up, and he's into the gravel with the outside tires. Again, the dirty air at Stavelo. One of the trickiest sections of Spa, I would reckon. Losing him.
With Frisch and Sicko not fighting anymore, they're able to get their foot all the way down. You might have trouble holding on to the back end of that little group.
Tell you what though, Timothy Fridge has staggering pace on the Aston Martin. Because in the last sector he gained 2/10 on Enrico Bräuninger. Maybe a bit too late,
Yeah.
but still, Timothy Fridge late in this race, coming really out of nowhere with the pace.
Yeah, Frisch and Sicko both last lap both did 17.2s, which is pretty good at this point in the race for sure. Obviously they're sellotaped together right now, so their pace is virtually identical.
I think that was a bit too early from Julian Chicot. He won't have the speed to outdraft Julian Chicot. And into the braking zone, it's the Porsche that has the upper hand. But Julian Chicot says no to that, and he keeps it alongside again, going into Malmedy. But again, it's Fridge with the better exit.
Yeah, he had to give up a little bit earlier because Dominic Ladler was cruising up behind him. So he had to take a bit more of a defensive line and get back into the... so he was in position, not quite out of position.
Yep, still closing for P9 as well. And I think we will have one more lap after this. One more time that Timothy Fridge has to defend from Julian Chicot and Dominic Ladler. And one more chance for Julian Chicot to reclaim that second position. And I think both of them would not have anticipated to be on the podium here today.
No, probably not, but I'm sure they're more than happy to be there.
Enrico Bräuninger closing in on Michael G. It shouldn't pose an issue to him though. Julian Chicot has to watch out for Dominic Ladler, who's very strong on the brakes going into bus stop, throwing the car sideways. Julian Chicot with more momentum coming out of the turn.
It's losing it a little bit on coming up to La Source, but I wonder if he can go for an up and under. Going very wide, trying to straighten out as much as he can.
He does, but unless he wants to go side by side into Rouge, this might have been too early, and it basically secured P2 for Timothy Fridge unless he makes some sort of mistake. There's a bit of contact, but I think Dominic Ladler won't be able to have the run on Julian Chicot here. Or did Dominic Ladler try to bump draft Julian Chicot because he is getting a bit closer to Timothy Fridge? But the gap is just way too big.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to me like he was fighting for the position at the end there. He decided to go with the leave him alone and try and catch up. But The gap just growing a little bit too much. I'm not sure they can close that up.
There we see the fight for P9, 6/10 between Siebert and Singh. He is in a good slipstream range. He has some damage to the front end of the car. Can he still make it work? That is the big question. Has a good run through Eau Rouge and Radeon. Goes to the outside of the BMW and shoots past before Lecom, and that is Singh up into 9th if he can keep that position until the end of the lap.
Sahib Singh currently 11 places gained from the start of the race, so again, another great one for him.
And Enrico Boninger already celebrating. He's coming into bus stop for the final time. He's been with us for so long. He's tried so many times. Always stick to his rule of using the Aston Martin, and today it finally pays off. Enrico Boninger is an RCL winner here at Spa-Francorchamps. What a race it has been by him. Excellent performance, and his teammate Timothy Fridge, P7 to P2. Julian Chicot completing the podium. What a race it has been. And Justus Storch, the rookie in this race, down in 5th, or up in 5th, I should rather say. What a performance by all of these guys. Cesco Montoya will be very happy with 6th. P. Kosluk, as you said, made up an intense comeback drive. Dennis Kurzer will come home.
Timothy Frisch as well, gaining 5 places from his qualifying position. So fantastic race for him to finish 2nd.
Very much so. Saif Singh will come home in 9th. I think Joshua Lucas Siebert will be a bit miffed about the ending of his race, but he can be very happy by the performance he did earlier. And Radoslav Pironkiewicz and Tony Thomas, our 2 consistency drivers, let's say it like that, they will come home in 11th and 12th, with Nicholas Kelly just behind in 13th. They can also be very pleased with their results, respectively. Actually, that was Radoslav Pironkiewicz passing Tony Thomas later in this race. But what a race it has been. A very unpredictable race. Still some stuff that definitely will have to be looked at.
Yeah, for sure. Well, there always is.
There always is. I think the fastest lap did in the end still remain with Ali Zaya.
I believe so.
We will have the updated standings for you in just a moment. And there are some very interesting changes to those, as you might think after such a race. And there we have them. Dominik Ladler on 99 points. Enrico Boiniger jumping from 4th to 2nd. Julian Chicot from 5th to 3rd. So these two can't be any happier with this race, I might imagine. Aliza and Ron then hit both with very unfortunate races. I think they will both be quite disappointed about that. But there's still 2 races left to go in the season. Timothy Fridge up into 6th. Cesco Montoya, Tony Thomas and Michael G being able to secure their positions with that. And then there's Siebert Schroeder still with his great entry earlier in the season in 11th. Radoslav Pironkiewicz and Kurzer bagging some good points. And Pete Kosluk actually also making it into the top 16 with his great result here today.
Yeah, it was a really good race by Kosluk. I know he was a bit on his own for a while, but a great result for him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say in the end to round things off? It has been an insane race by Enrico Boiniger, Julian Chicot and Timothy Fridge, making use out of the situation, not looking back at any point, and very well deserved on the podium.
Yep, I agree.
And none of them folding under pressure as well. Especially, gotta be honest, from past things, I might have expected Julian Chico to at least miss a breaking point or something, but he did nothing like that. He kept his cool. He lost the position to Timothy Fridge, but that was not due to a lack of trying. Timothy Fridge just having absurd pace there in the end. I think being the fast count track in the one lap, they didn't fight. Paul Enrico Bräuninger did that move, didn't look back, have crushing pace afterwards. And to just be in that position to begin with was insane. Very much to say about honorable mentions maybe in this race, but to cut it short, it was Spa again, just like the last 2 times. It was chaotic, but it was insane to watch. So yeah, that is my conclusion. What do you think? Do you have anything?
I don't think I have anything to add. I think you've covered that pretty well, to be honest. Spa did Spa things. It was a great race to watch. Thanks for everyone who took part. And thanks for everyone on Twitch for watching.
We see you back tomorrow for the RR2L for round number 2 at Daytona. Later on that evening there will also be the GTRC at Daytona, so tomorrow you got quite a lot of stuff to watch if you are looking for it. With that, I'd say enjoy the rest of your evening and see you tomorrow. If you want to have more info on joining the RCL, make sure to head over to Discord and Community Sporting and you will find all the info in there. Otherwise, in 2 weeks we will be back with RCL at Hockenheim, out of all places. So, if you want to join, make sure to get some training in. And with that, goodbye.
Goodbye.